3 races have been completed in the second season of the Power V8 Cup Series, as we're about to get set and ready for the West Coast portion of the V8 Cup Tour, as we get set for the Tail Greeter 300 from the Denver Motorsports Park. Hello everyone, and welcome back to some more Power V8 Cup Series action. Today we've got ourselves another action-packed race ready to go here on this long 2.2 mile speedway. Lots of drivers going to see if they can go ahead and become the newest winner of this oval variation of the track, as our previous winner will not be here to defend his claim and title. Many drivers in this field getting ready for this hectic event, so let's go trackside for the latest news and headlines going into today's race. Hector Palma in the number 72 would become one of the newest race winners to find victory lane in the V8 Cup Series, winning in a dominant fashion at Middle Georgia last week. Did a very, very good job of keeping his car clean, out in front, and in control. And Hector Palma showed that his inexperience did not matter compared to his skill. Number 72 car looking very, very strong throughout the first couple of races, and Palma going to try to recapitalize on some of that success and try to build up some momentum. Watch out, as he'll be starting in the top 15 today. Taking a look before we get into today's event, we're going to go and see how the point standings, how the top 20 in points are lining up after the first 3 races of the season. So far, there's only been a total of 7 drivers who have failed to score points. We've seen 35 points finishers within our first 3 regular season races. Let's take a look at who those top 20 of them are. Hector Palma is going to be the new points leader after capitalizing on a very dominant day last week at Middle Georgia, claiming everything but the fastest lap award, and also capitalizing on the success from Daytona as well, would propel him in the lead by 5 points over our Daytona winner already, Alejo. Alejo's been showing some strong strength this year as well, obviously winning right off the bat earlier in the season, showed a very good performance coming deep from the field at Middle Georgia, and it's going to try to continue that momentum with a good run here at Denver today. Owen Scott sits behind him just a couple points off with only 40 to his name. And Cody Goforth was able to capitalize on a good run along with James Fletcher. Both of them will be tied for the 4th position with 36 points apiece. Christian Vargas would land himself in the 6th position with 33 points, followed by another tie, a 3-way tie this time, between Leland Hill, Flandre Wilson, and Alexander Rowe, all tied with 32 points apiece. Many drivers you're noticing will be having some very similar points totals, as another 2 with the same exact points tallies would go to both Chris Parker and JQ Halak. But unfortunately for Halak, it is the 2nd week in a row she'll be going into a race 11th in the point standings, but tied with those that are 10th in the gauntlet standings. So those that are just on the outside of the top 10, as we mentioned, JQ Halak with 31 points in 11th. Brett Bishop a couple points off of her in 12th, in a tie with Arvin Basic himself, both with 27 points apiece. Justin Henley sits 1 point off of them, followed by a few points back Michael Canaday, just trailing behind them shortly. Roberto Crown Jr. makes up 16th, followed by a tie for 17th between Marcus Brown and Ronnie Martin. And lastly, another tie here for the last 2 positions in the top 20. Both Tari Lowell and Dale Cole Jr., both with 20 points apiece, will 18 points apiece, will round out the top 20. All right, now with that being said, before we get today's race started, let's go ahead and take a look at our starting lineup for today's race here at the Denver Motorsports Park. Christian Vargas going to claim the pole here at Denver, and to his outside is going to be our defending champion, Ethan Hayden, both starting in the 1st and 2nd place positions. Just behind them is Ruben Gonzalez and JQ Halak making up the 2nd row, and Marcus Brown and Nick Kennedy lining up in row 3. Marcus Brown might be one to watch for, as he seemed to have a very strong showing here last season in his first career start. We'll see if he can continue to build some good momentum at the Denver Motorsports Park here today. Row 4 will see the likes of Roberto Crown Jr. and Alexander Rowe, followed by Cody Goforth and Arvin Basic to round out our top 10. Just outside the top 10 positions will include the likes of Riley Hill and Jeff Bolton, followed by James Fletcher and Owen Scott, and Blake Parker and John McFadden will make up row 8, with Xander Howell and Flandre Wilson in row 9. And finally, rounding out our top 20 is going to be the likes of Tari Lowell and Chris Parker. Just outside the top 20, row 11 will see the likes of Michael Candidate and Riley Spurley, followed by Seishin Tomioka and Miles Mashburn. A JCM lockout for row 13, both Cam Ray Sr. and Already Alejo will start in those positions. Hector Palma, last winner at Middle Georgia, will start a little bit deeper in the field in 27th with Dylan Hayden to his outside. And both Zachariah Armstrong and Landon Laudenbach will round out the top 30. Outside of our top 30 positions, we'll have Ricky Freeman Jr. and Brett Bishop, along with Justin Henley and Leland Hill. Zachary Fitzwater Sr. and Zachary DeLello will make up row 18, the Zachary and Zachary show, along with Ronnie Martin and Dale Cole Jr. in row 19, and Saber Fox and Devon Fair rounding out our top 40. And our final two positions for today is going to be the likes of David Dixon and Nelson Reeves. Unfortunately, wasn't able to set a time in qualifying due to some repairs being needed to be made to his engine, so he will have to start from the rear of the field. And now, let's go trackside for the command for the Tailgrader 400, live from Denver.
Drivers, start your engines.
All right, 42 engines are alive and underway as we are getting set here for the second race at the Denver Oval here in the Power V8 Cup Series history, and of course our first race here for our second season. We'll go ahead and get you the track facts really quick for today's race. As you'll be seeing here, is going to be a 2.28 mile track that will be going around 50 laps for today's race. Pit window is looking to be around 40 to 45 laps, so it should be interesting. If we get a couple cautions, it's very well possible that the no stopper will be very doable. We saw Christian Russell win on it last year. But at the same time, if we don't get a lot of cautions or some green flag runs, then I think it'll be very vital to see when drivers come down to pit road. It's a very nice day here in Aurora, Colorado. 76 degrees Fahrenheit coming in with the wind only at 6 miles per hour from the northwest direction. We are just about set here to get this race started and underway. And the pace car is about to dive in. Christian Vargas going to lead us back down to the green for race 4 of season 2 of the V8 Cup Series. It's going to be very hectic, very chaotic. This track known to have a lot of action and some great racing, and I think we're going to have a whole nother day of it. Here we go. Cars approach the restart zone, and the green flag is out here at Denver. Some cars in the wall. We're seeing Solomon Sheridan getting caught up in the wall, unable to get off of it from the most part. He's going to lose out on a lot of spots. Zachary Fitzwater gets up by him, but we are going to stay green. And so far, leading lap 1, it is going to be the 08 of Christian Vargas. He is going to try to get himself a good bit of some momentum on the rest of the field here. Lots of crazy racing in the back. You see there's plenty of lanes and options to choose from in terms of where you want to try to put your car and position it here on these lines. There's many ways to get around drivers right now, as we're seeing here the 68 of Nick Kennedy trying to get around Ruben Gonzalez. Ethan Hayden not off to the strongest start. His teammate Marcus Brown trying to get under him for the 5th position, falling back from 2nd to 5th already in 2 laps. Alexander Rowe making his way up through the field as well. Rowe has been off to a very hot start in terms of his performances, but his results don't necessarily show it, as he's had quite a few races that he could have won or at least been in contention for the win, unfortunately taken away from him due to some bad luck and some unfortunate timing. But Alexander Rowe still trying to show if he can just start finishing these races off, he is definitely going to be a major championship contender. That 84 car has been very strong throughout the majority of all 3 of our races so far in the season, and it's feeling like it's going to be a matter of time before we see that 84 car reach victory lane once again. Riley Spurley trying to go to the underneath of him to get that run, but right now for the time being it's just Christian Vargas out in front by himself. Nick Kennedy with a little bit of some momentum. JQ Halak trying to defend from Ethan Hayden. As we scroll through the rest of the field here, we're seeing some 3-wide racing. John McFadden trying to go to the inside of Marcus Brown and James Fletcher. Go for it, stuck on that high side, trying to make that top line work, ripping it along the wall. Another pack here towards the back with a lot of cars racing hard with each other. You're seeing last week's winner, Hector Palma, right here up at the front of this little pack in the back, battling along with Xander Howell. Big run from Saber Fox. Justin Henley tries to come down to block, but doesn't really have much going there for him. Back up at the front, Nick Kennedy starting to reel in on our leader of Christian Vargas, trying to see if he can get to the behind of the 08. He's going to try to get some good draft. He's getting a lot of momentum. The key thing is, though, is going to be finding the right line and finding a way around that 08 car. Because even if you push the 08 up on the top side, he can just get a better run off of the corner than you. This place has a lot of room to work with, but it is very difficult to pass still, as you've got to really have a lot of momentum on your side, and a lot of the times you need some help from another car in order to be able to make a move be fully complete and stick like the way you want it to. Right now, Christian Vargas just able to inch ahead. And still out in front and in control of this race. Field starting to split up just a little bit more and more as they're still trying to get themselves situated and into this race for the time being. Currently at the moment, Tari Lowell holds on to our very last remaining points paying position, but he's got a lot of competition right behind him trying to change that as well. Some more battles going on just on the outskirts of the top 10. You're seeing James Fletcher trying to defend from Riley Hill and Marcus Brown. Alexander Rowe giving a big push to Jeff Bolton up there at the front as well, with Nick Kennedy still trying to reel in the 08 of Christian Vargas. It's allowing some of these cars behind him, this little group of 4 here, Ethan Hayden, JQ Halak, Ruben Gonzalez, and Roberto Crown Jr., they're starting to make up some ground on this number 68 car, but it looks like the caution is out. Cam Wright Sr. getting dumped by Devon Fair. Devon Fair just dumps the Forest Sr., some damage to Zachariah Armstrong. And we've got our first wreck of the day here. Caution is out. Not exactly sure what happened, but we just saw Devon Fair flat out dump the 4 of Cam Wright Sr. So that's going to make things interesting. But caution is out for the first time today here on lap 7. Take a look here as you'll see these battles just outside the top 20 position. Zachariah Armstrong going to try to make a diving move on Cody Goforth, but it is not going to work out in his favor. He will hook the 60 into the wall, and then unfortunately goes up around into the 60 himself. A couple cars going to stack up. It's going to cause a lot of chaos here amongst some of these other drivers. And then as you'll see here, Devon Fair just going to flat out dump the number 4 of Cam Wright Sr.'s result. Not sure if there was something earlier in the race that Fair was very unhappy about with the number 4, but nonetheless, he definitely turned him around as a result of that caution coming out. Another look here at this incident. We'll see the likes of Cody Goforth get clipped by the 37 of Armstrong. That's another incident Zachariah Armstrong has gotten himself so far in this season. The rookie, I believe, has been in crashes in 3 of the 4 races so far, and 2 of them being at his own hands. And as you'll see down at the bottom, Devon Fair just going to continue to take out the 4 of Cam Wright Sr. Another look here as we'll see the 60 Cody Goforth get dumped by Zachariah Armstrong right into the wall. That 37 car will take the 60 and spin them both out. Both these cars should be able to continue along with everyone else involved in the wreck, but caution is going to be out for the first time today as a result. All right, well, with the first caution coming out on lap 7, this means theoretically that the entire field should be within the fuel window for pit stops. Now, it's going to be key to see who comes down. We're seeing Christian Vargas making his way down on pit road, but it's not looking like we're going to see many other takers. Roberto Crown Jr. is going to follow him as well. But doesn't look like we're going to see many other people. Most of the field is going to stay out here. We've got Blake Parker coming in now, trying to do some quick work on the strategy. Cody Cofort's going to come in to repair those damages he just suffered. And same with Zachariah Armstrong. But for the most part, it's looking like our field is going to be staying out. So Christian Vargas is going to give up his lead to try to play his cards right with the pit strategy. Blake Parker and Roberto Crown Jr. are also going to do the same. And actually, Crown Jr. was somehow able to get out ahead of Christian Vargas. So either the 08 of Vargas made some major adjustments to make sure that they make it through to the end of this race just fine, or had some sort of disastrous pit stop. But nonetheless, Nick Kennedy is going to be your new leader when we get back under green for the restart.
Jones Barbecue and Foot Massage. Jones Barbecue and Foot Massage. Better come down here, get some of this shit. You like to eat. America loves to eat. So why not open up somewhere America can sit down, enjoy a meal, and get their feet rubbed? We'll fry anything you want for $5.99. As long as it's friable or edible, we're gonna make it deliciable. We will fry parts of the chicken you didn't even know was friable. The beak, the feathers, we'll fry candy bars. All that European stuff that you don't really normally eat, we'll bring it down here and fry it for you. Ask McDonald's to fry something other than what they normally fry. Guess what you're gonna get? Nothing. If it fit through the dough, I'll put it in the fryer. Hell, this is a dinosaur. All our meats are gently tenderized to their optimum deliciousness. We got fine dinosaur meats. Took my money, made me pay child support. Come on down here and get you a slice. Once they get your social security number, it's over. Motivated, 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 motivated. So friends, let's just decide you don't want no barbecue. Well, that's fine too. Why not let one of my foot specialists or myself perform our magic? Look at that, don't they look wonderful? If you really pay me enough, we'll massage your feet in any of these sauces also. Success is the rule down here at Jones Good Ass Barbecue and Foot Massage. So go ahead and give me a call or find us on the worldwide internets at the new website. That's JONES Big Ass Truck Rental and Storage.com /Jones Good Ass Barbecue and Foot Massage.html.
Welcome back, everybody, here to the Denver Motorsports Park for the Tail Greeter 400. We are under caution for the first time today due to the Lap 7 incident that involved the likes of Devon Fair, Cam Wright Sr., Zachariah Armstrong, and Cody Goforth. All four of these cars should be able to continue on and race just fine. We saw just about 5 cars come down pit road, 2 from the wreck, but 3 of them being our leader Christian Vargas, Roberto Crown Jr., and Blake Parker, all taking their chances on the pit strategy. They are within their theoretical fuel window. Might have to do a little bit of some saving here, but with everyone else still needing to pit more than likely, this could be looking either a very make or break, kind of call for those drivers, specifically for Christian Vargas, because he's giving up the lead to do this. It was one of those cases where the field was just going to do the exact opposite of what Vargas was doing. So that's going to put Nick Kennedy now into the lead of this race, and he will bring us back to the green here at Denver. Restart is back, and the green flag back in the air waving. Ethan Hayden wasting no time trying to make it to the bottom, trying to get around Nick Kennedy here on lap 11. Takes a good second for these cars to get up to speed, about almost a full lap before they'll really be up to their full potential in terms of horsepower and pace. A good little train here between this top 6. We see Riley Spurley in the top 5. This is the best we've seen him run so far in his career, I believe, besides probably leading some laps at Daytona. Right now, Riley Spurley showing some good strength. Oh, trouble! Ruben Gonzalez puts JQ Halak in the wall. Gonzalez goes into the wall too. But, oh, watch out. A lot of these fields stacking up more. Whoa, we might be wrecking more. We are. Nelson Reeves into his teammate as cars try to go down pit road. The caution should be back out. Yes, it is. Many a car stacking up. And that restart, unfortunately, bred another caution between our leaders. This time we saw Ruben Gonzalez take out JQ Halak in the wall, and then that would cause some more chaos. Caution back out here on lap 12. Some very, very unfortunate luck for the 13 and the 26 as they were both running up front very strong for the beginning part of this race. Ruben Gonzalez just going to hook the number 13, get in a little too deep, pushes her up the track. Then Gonzalez goes up the track as well. Then when they come back down here, you'll see the 26 car just try to get down pit road, but that's going to cause so much chaos with all these drivers in the back. Nelson Reeves gets into Cam Wright Sr., and then that just puts him into his own teammate of Ruben Gonzalez. Both of those drivers going around for a spin. And I think for Gonzalez, his day may unfortunately be over. He's got a lot of smoke coming out from his car. Another angle of this incident here, Ruben Gonzalez going to get in too deep on JQ Halak, pushes herself into the wall, and then not only that, Ruben will get a bump from Riley Spurley as well. That'll put him in the wall into Halak. Then when Gonzalez tries to come back down to get to pit road, he just does not wait, tries to immediately get down, causes a huge stack up between a bunch of drivers. Arvin Basic gets into Nelson Reeves. Reeves ricochets off of Cam Wright Sr., and then that puts him back into the way of Ruben Gonzalez. We go on board with Ruben Gonzalez now and get his point of view of this wreck.
Front, right here on 3 up, right here, low, straight, low, come on, straight, hold the brake, that's coming. Left, right, hold the brake right there.
Heavy hits for the number 26 team. And we'll take an onboard look as well with Cam Wright Sr. as he'll get a big piece of this incident as well.
Still inside there. Two inside. One car goes to the middle there. Two inside. Two inside. Go low. Got a wrecked bucket of fuck. It's gonna fucking break here in a second.
One more look at this incident that's going to bring us out the caution for the second time today. Ruben Gonzalez going to dive it in too deep on JQ Halak and will cause a little bit of an incident between themselves and some more drivers in the back. Lots of damages to that 26 and 13 car, as well as some others. But nonetheless, caution going to be out for the second time today.
Eat a dick.
Okay, we're doing things a little bit different today. This is the new 2017 Chevy Cruze. I'm only going to show you half of this car and ask you your initial opinions about it. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it looks very sleek, a little bit of attitude to it.
That is the ugliest fucking car I have ever seen.
And it starts at $22,190.
Nice. That's a great price.
$22,190 what? Half dollars? But wait, doesn't it say right here, as shown $29,860? So what, this car that we're looking at is not $22,190, it's $29,860?
There's another side to this car.
Oh, wow.
Love it.
My God, you guys and your doors.
This is the first ever Chevy Cruze hatch.
Wow.
Good choice on the
So
color
check it
there.
out.
What is that? Burnt rust?
What's your first impression of seeing the whole car now?
Honestly, I'm just as disappointed with the back half as I was with the front half. Maybe
Remember,
more.
this is the first ever Chevy Cruze hatchback.
I hope it's the
Let's see what
last.
we got in here. So now that you know it's a hatchback with lots of room, what does it make you think of?
Makes me think of someone that's gonna overpay for a piece of shit.
I still see like a young professional / weekend warrior. The whole like business in the front, party in the back.
Yeah, Debbie Potter's in the back.
Welcome back, everybody, here to the Denver Motorsports Park under caution for the second time today due to the incident involving the likes of Miles Mashburn, Cam Wright Sr., JQ Halak, Ruben Gonzalez, the 44 of Arvin Basic, and the 76 of Nelson Reeves. Unfortunately for Ruben Gonzalez, he is unfortunately going to have to retire from the event due to the damages he suffered on that crash after making multiple amounts of contact with both JQ Halak and his teammate Ruben Gonzalez. So far, it has not been a very good start to the race for Fitzwater Australia Racing. 3 of their 4 cars already getting involved in some wrecks, and one of them being out of the race. Hopefully Zachary Fitzwater will be able to at least come home with a strong finish for the team, as it's looking like the rest of the team not going to really be able to do so with the amount of damages they've been getting themselves into. Amazingly, we also didn't see anybody come down pit road during that last caution, so everyone where they were at the time of the caution is where they will still remain. Nick Kennedy will lead us back down to the green, restart back out here at Denver. Green flag back in the air, and Nick Kennedy going to try to lead us back down. Already seeing some good moves here. Marcus Brown trying to go to the inside. So is Riley Hill as these guys try to build up some speed. Alexander Rowe has quietly but surely been working his way up to the front, already now in that third position. He's got James Fletcher behind him along with Riley Spurley. Looking at the Riley and Riley show actually is Spurley and Hill both in the 5th and 6th positions. The one of Ethan Hayden trying to get to the inside of Nick Kennedy is, ooh, watch out, Riley Spurley to the bumper of James Fletcher. Trying to move him up the track. But right now as it sits, Kennedy going to continue to lead, while Ethan Hayden will charge close behind. Some of the groups forming a little bit of some small packs in tandems. Not some really, here's a big pack here. Most of the cars in the back that have some sort of damage or something going on with them, or just haven't been having a very good race for the time being. You're seeing here Roberto Crown Jr. stuck along with a lot of this traffic. If you remember, he came down pit road on that first caution along with our pole sitter Christian Vargas, making his way up through the field, going for that 25th position, trying to fight his way back into the points with a fresher set of tires. Landon Lauterbach getting a good run on Saber Fox right there and trying to get around the 54 of Leland Hill. Back up at the front though, we're starting to get a little bit of a pack forming right behind our leader as Nick Kennedy has some pressure from both Alexander Rowe and Ethan Hayden. James Fletcher is there, Riley Hill making a big dive to the inside as well. We've got about the whole top 10 seemingly right under a blanket. In fact, I believe your whole top 15 right in the picture right there just for a second. It's Alexander Rowe trying to make some moves. Got a good push from Riley Hill. Will use that momentum on the high side. Going to try to get around James Fletcher. It's very interesting how passes have to be made here. You usually have to get a good run from someone behind you, and then you have to carry that all the way either up the track or below it. But either way, it's difficult. As here we go, caution back out once again. Looking like, oh, something happened to Solomon Sheridan and Cam Wright Sr. as he is very far off the pace from the rest of the field. Caution going to be out for the 3rd time today here on lap 19. All right, we'll get a replay here, see what happens. So it turns out Cam Wright Sr. not going to be involved in this crash. He just ended up pitting under green. Ricky Freeman Jr. just going to flat out run over the number 2 of already Alejo. Just dove it way too deep into the corner. And as a result, sends Alejo into the outside wall with a lot of damage to that rear bumper. Another angle to my new incident. You're going to see here Ricky Freeman Jr. just dive it straight on into the 2 of already Alejo. That'll send him up into the wall, or Daytona winner. Ricky Freeman, not the most popular driver to begin with due to how some people perceive him, also with his sponsorship as well, and I believe this move definitely isn't going to gain him more fans as a result. We'll take one more look here of this very simple incident as Ricky Freeman Jr. will just dive it way too deep on the inside of the 2 of already Alejo and will send him spinning into the outside wall. Caution going to be out for the 3rd time today here on lap 19. All right, so we're going to see if we get any takers as we're approaching the halfway mark of this race. It'll be interesting to see if guys want to be able to top off on fuel and possibly get them a fresh set of tires for a sprint to the finish for the second half of this race. Looking like the entirety of the top 7 going to stay out. Riley Spurley will be our first taker, but he will lead down a group of a good bit of some cars that are going to come down to pit road. You see Xander Howell, Ronnie Martin, last week's winner Hector Palma, Tari Lowell, there goes Zachary DeLello. Good bit of cars staying out as well. A lot of our leaders that were up at the front and some of the drivers that already pitted are going to stay out, of course. But I would say a good majority of the field is down on pit road right now. As you're seeing here, Riley Spurley get to his stall. He was the first one to come down pit road and lead this group. So a lot of guys going to be able to leapfrog, but I'd say about half the field is down pit road right now, getting themselves ready for this end of this race, getting themselves to the adjustments, tires, and fuel that's needed in order to make it to the end. Ooh, a little bit of contact from Xander Howell and the 77 of Zachary DeLello, but I think they're going to be just fine. Just seemed to be a little bit of a scrape. 2 Sinclair Canada racing cars, drag racing for dead last off of pit road. But as a result, that is going to shuffle some more cars back up to the front. But our leaders, our top 7, is going to remain the same.
Fuck you, Baltimore!
If you're dumb enough to buy a new car this weekend,
You're a big enough schmuck to come to Big Bill Hell's Cars.
bad deal.
Cars that break down.
Thieves.
If you think you're gonna find a bargain at Big Bill,
You can kiss my ass.
it's our belief that you're such a stupid motherfucker.
You'll fall for this bullshit.
Guaranteed.
If you find a better deal,
Shove it up your ugly ass.
you heard us right.
Shove it up your ugly ass.
Bring your tray.
Bring your title.
Bring your wife.
We'll fuck her.
That's right, we'll fuck your wife.
Because at Big Bill Hell,
You're fucked 6 ways from Sunday.
take a hike
to Big Bill Hell.
home of challenge pissing.
That's right.
Challenge pissing.
How does it work?
If you can piss 6 feet in the air straight up and not get wet,
You get no down payment.
don't wait.
Don't delay.
Don't fuck with us or we'll rip your nuts off.
Only at Big Bill Hell.
The only dealer that tells you to fuck off.
Hurry up, asshole.
This event ends the minute after you write us a check.
And it better not bounce or you're a dead motherfucker.
Go to hell.
Big Bill Hell's Cars.
Baltimore's filthiest.
And exclusive on one of the meanest sons of bitches in the state of Maryland.
Guaranteed.
Welcome back, everybody, here to the Tailgater 400 live from Denver, under caution for the third time today due to the simple accident involving the likes of Solomon Sheridan and Ricky Freeman Jr. Both those cars are going to be able to continue on in this race, as we've only had one retiree, and that's been Ruben Gonzalez. Every single car, everyone else, still on the lead lap and in the race. We saw a good chunk of the field, about half of the field, come down pit road, and while the other half still staying out, mainly the top 7 has gone unchanged and will stay the same, along with some other drivers deeper in the field who are yet to pit, trying to leapfrog their way up to the top, and a few of those cars who already pitted, like Christian Vargas and Roberto Crown Jr. and Blake Parker, also stayed out, helping them gain some more positions and get back into the top 20. We're going to see here now, Nick Kennedy is going to lead us back down to the green. So far, he's led the most laps of this race. Ever since Christian Vargas came down to the pits, he's been in complete control. 68 gets to the restart zone, and the green flag is back out here at Denver. See if we can get a little bit of a better green flag run. So far, our longest run was the opening run of the day of about 7 laps. James Fletcher already looking to the inside of Ethan Hayden, wasting no time trying to get these spots while everyone's still trying to get up to speed, catch some people lacking, and get those positions. Saber Fox making a nice 3-wide move on Seishin Tomioka and John McFadden. James Fletcher, with some help from Riley Hill, is trying to charge his way up to the front and into that second place position. Fletcher finished 3rd at the Royalty Graphics 500 and is right now trying to make it one better. Right now in that second position, going to try to go for his first win of Season 2. Remember, he won the first race at Atlanta last season, the second race of last year's season. So Fletcher does know how to get it done, especially on a track of this caliber. So we'll see how it goes, but right now the big name of the game is getting around Nick Kennedy. It's one thing to get up to him, but it's a completely different thing to try to get around him, as nobody has been able to seem to have the momentum or the ability to get around this number 68 car. Will we see James Fletcher try to make the move? He's pretty much just tandem drafting with this 68. Just going to send him up the track. That seems to be the way you have to make the move around here. Fletcher trying to get to the lead. Watch out! Flandre Wilson hooking the number 1 of Ethan Hayden as well. Side by side for the lead, though. This has been the most contest that we have seen for the lead right now at this race. James Fletcher side by side with Nick Kennedy. Kennedy has a slight advantage going into the corner. Will the high side work in his favor? Fletcher, though, going to try to dive it in deeper, drive it in harder, and make the move stick, and he does. New leader, the number 88 of James Fletcher. Fletcher now up in front and in the lead. As we're seeing here, Flandre Wilson, our winner from Atlanta, making her way up at the front as well. Pushing and shoving the 1 of Ethan Hayden, trying to get him out of the way. As I believe this is the way people are now resorting to passing. Just shove the shit out of whoever is in front of you and hope for the best. As right now, as we're seeing here, Nick Kennedy moving his way up to the front, or trying to get back up to James Fletcher. We are now at the halfway mark. Fletcher has just led for the first time today. He has been our 3rd different leader of this race, and trying to make it count. Some other drivers we're seeing here in the back. Look at Christian Vargas making his way back up to the front. Remember, he pitted way early in the race, the very first caution. Trying to make that move work and get himself back up to where he needs to be. I'm pretty sure nobody in the top 10 has come down pit road all race. Again, the no-stopper is possible. We've seen it work. That's how Christian Russell won this race last season. And I think a lot of the field is going to try to take those cues Because if you don't, why come down pit road if you don't have to? But at the same time, if you've got a guy like Christian Vargas, or even worse, if you have some of these other guys who just pitted on even fresher tires start to chase you down like Riley Spurley, well then things might get really interesting as we still have a whole another half of this race to get through. Brett Bishop diving it in deep 3 wide. He's got his teammate on the bottom there, making that move work. And actually, we're seeing Nick Kennedy get back up to the 88 of James Fletcher. Will Kennedy send the 88 up the track to take his lead back? He's still pushing him. He's not letting him go. He's still shoving him. Using the nose, nudges him up the track more and more, trying to get there. Kennedy doing everything he can to make that 88 uncomfortable and get him off his line. It might allow the 1 of Ethan Hayden and the 84 of Alexander Rowe to catch up. Flandre Wilson losing a couple of positions there in the meantime. And here comes Owen Scott trying to make his way up to the front as well. Last week's race at Middle Georgia was the first race Owen Scott failed to score any points. But still, he's currently 3rd in the point standings. And he's looking at a pretty decent points batch if he can end up finishing here in the top 10. Right now, top 4 separated by just about a second. From Alexander Rowe to the 88 of James Fletcher. Nick Kennedy might need some help from the 1 of Ethan Hayden to try to get around the 88 of Fletcher, and Hayden subsequently might need some help from the 84 to get up to the 68 to try to make that battle for the lead a possibility. Right now, those we are seeing some good racing up at the front, a little bit of some spread going on throughout the field. Christian Vargas trying to fight for the top 10 position on Leland Hill, but it looks like Station Tomioka going to actually move him up the track a little bit. Sabre Fox making their way from the back to the front, doing a pretty good job in the 97 right now up in the top 10. Marcus Brown as well hanging out in the top 10 all day. As we mentioned earlier in the show, this is a track that he is very much familiar with and is a fan of. Ran very well here last season, led some laps, and I believe finished in the top 5. But right now our top 4 is still trying to get a good hold and reach of each other, as James Fletcher is out and in front. Finished 3rd at the Royalty Graphics 500, and James Fletcher just trying to capitalize on a good season, create some good momentum. He seems to be off to a decent start, and right now doing very, very well with what he has. Looks like somebody might have went off here. There is some major skid marks to that inside wall, but we stay green, so I'm not exactly too sure what happened there. But nonetheless, Nick Kennedy can't really get there to the 88. He's able to hold reach with him, but he's not actually able to make a real move or take a real crack or swing at trying to get that lead away from him. Sabre Fox going to the inside of Marcus Brown for the 8th position. Fox going to try to dive it in there number 97. And here comes Christian Vargas making his way into the top 10 as well. Vargas back up into the top 10, our pole sitter, trying to make that pit strategy work, and so far, for the time being, it is. But right now, James Fletcher out in front and in control. Kennedy doing everything he can to reel in this 88 car. It's been a very interesting battle between our leaders. But like we said, you're just going to have to give a really huge push to the rear bumper of whoever's in front of you if you want to have a shot at getting around them. That's just the way it is. Unless you have help behind you and some sort of momentum, it's incredibly difficult to pass here. Because even as you see here, Kennedy got a much better entry. But because, oh, wait a minute. Whoa, Kennedy actually, I thought Fletcher was going to get off the corner way better than Kennedy, but that does not appear to be the case. Nick Kennedy now side by side with the 88 of James Fletcher, trying to take the lead back. He might have the run, and he just will. He's going to easily clear him. James Fletcher going to try to get some momentum to get that position back. Ethan Hayden been doing everything he can to try to put himself into this projection of the battle. As right now our leader is very much single file throughout the top 7. Battle for 9th between Marcus Brown and Christian Vargas. Brown starting to fall off a little bit. His car probably fading away from him, given that it has been 33 laps on those tires. And the 70 of Marcus Brown has not come down to pit yet, so that is definitely going to be a huge factor in terms of his pace and what he is able to do. A lot of single file action going on in the back as well. Many cars with some damage are just trying to make their way through. It's been a little bit of a struggle for some of these guys in the race. Some of them trying to recover, though. Cam Wright Sr.'s got himself in some incidents, along with Nelson Reeves. But they're doing all right, just trying to bounce back. And actually pretty close to the top 20 here. Yeah, Cam Wright Sr. is only one position outside the top 20, actually. So, and we might see Nelson Reeves here get his way into the top 20 as he's making the move on Dylan Hayden, excuse me. And now he's going to try to close in on Ronnie Martin. Owen Scott making a move for the 5th position. That number 15 car fighting his way down to the inside. He's got his teammate right behind him, Flandre Wilson, trying to get around the 5 of Riley Hill. 2 of the Ronnie Racing cars up in the top 10. Ronnie Racing as a whole been off to a pretty decent start. Obviously, Owen Scott ran very well in the first 2 races, and then at Atlanta, they had 3 of their 4 cars finish in the top 4. So some really, really impressive stuff coming out of the Ronnie Racing camp. But as we sit, it is Nick Kennedy still out in front and in control. He's been in control of this entire race for the most part. Besides the first 7 laps and a couple laps led by James Fletcher, it's been all Nick Kennedy up at the front. But watch out. Christian Vargas gets a shove from the 97 to Saber Fox. Not sure how likely he'll take that, but it will be okay because Vargas has fresher tires and is on the high side, so he will have that preferred line and be able to hang on to that position. So Vargas still trying to claw his way back up to the front as we now just have 15 laps to go in this race. And look at this, Alexander Rowe has actually been able to get around the one of Ethan Hayden. And James Fletcher losing a lot of pace to Alexander Rowe. Rowe going to now be side by side for that 2nd place position. It's going to allow Nick Kennedy to make a lot of ground and clear himself a little bit. But Ethan Hayden now helping out the 88 of James Fletcher. Sends him into the corner, still shoving him, still on the rear bumper of the 88, trying to keep him around that 84 car. It'd probably be better if Ethan Hayden was pushing Alexander Rowe, as it seems to be that Rowe has a little bit more pace. And I think now he's going to try to do that. He'll dive down low and try to give that draft to Alexander Rowe. Rowe going to be able to clear for that 2nd place position, and Ethan Hayden going to dive in for the 3rd spot. James Fletcher going to lose 2 positions in 1 corner. Watch out. Owen Scott has actually broken his way out from that little bit of that pack there of Riley Hill and Flandre Wilson. If these 4 continue to battle it out. Oh, watch out. Alexander Rowe gets pushed by Ethan Hayden. He goes way up the hill trying to recover it. Did not have as bad of an incident as JQ locked in. But whoa, watch out. Ethan Hayden diving it in on Alexander Rowe again. Hayden getting aggressive with it now, trying to hang on to this 2nd spot. That's definitely going to allow Owen Scott to come into play here. My, oh my. And right now, as we're seeing, Ethan Hayden currently in that 2nd place position, but he's got a lot of pressure behind him. 3 drivers trying to get to that very spot he's in. And if they keep fighting, there'll be more. Riley Hill and Flandre Wilson right there at the cusp. And once again, watch out for Christian Vargas on the freshest set of tires. Remember, none of the top 7 is pitted. I don't believe any of the top 7 is pitted. So they may not be able to make it to the end. We don't know. There has been 3 cautions. There's been a lot of opportunities to save fuel and to make sure that your tires are okay and can make it to the end, but it is still not a guarantee. So Vargas could be in the catbird seat right now based on the fact that he was the first one to pit out of anyone. But we'll just have to wait and see, as right now we're on 12 laps to go. Riley Hill diving it into the inside of Alexander Rowe. That's allow Hill to get into the frame. He's going to try to split the middle of Rowe and Owen Scott. The 1 car of Ethan Hayden is starting to make his way to the rear bumper of Nick Kennedy. Is he going to send Kennedy up the track? Yeah, no he does not. Kennedy going to be able to hold his line. He moves up slightly more and more, but that's to help him give a better run out of the corner. As right now we're coming up to just 11 laps to go. Whole entire top 6 separated by a 2nd. It's going to be very interesting to see how this one plays out, as Nick Kennedy has been the clear dominant driver and the guy to beat the entire race. But he's got a lot of hungry drivers there searching for their first win this season, some of them searching for their first win ever. And Nick Kennedy himself trying to get his first career win. I'd argue he has the most to lose out of anyone up here at the front. obviously the win, but even more, it would sting if you wouldn't be able to get your first career win. But for a guy like Ethan Hayden, James Fletcher, they won last season. Along with Alexander Rowe and Owen Scott. Riley Hill has not won, though, however, in his career so far. Ethan Hayden, though, trying to hang on to the 68 of Nick Kennedy. We just have 10 laps to go in this race. It's going to come down to the wire here. Who saved the most tires? Who's got enough fuel? Will they be able to make it to the end? There's a lot of questions that we'll just have to wait to be solved. The one of Ethan Hayden sticking alongside the 68 of Nick Kennedy. He's got James Fletcher glued in right behind him as well, as 4th and 5th and 6th are starting to fall away from our top 3 here just a little bit as these laps continue to wind down. It's going to be important for Hayden and Fletcher to make sure they don't battle it out amongst each other too much during these laps. They just need to stay within reach of Nick Kennedy and try to get there at the right time, at the right place. If they can be able to do that, they'll have a good shot at being able to battle for the win. But if we see the 1 and the 88 start to fight amongst each other, that might give the 68 the advantage to help run away and walk with the win. Top 10 currently sitting pretty stagnant for the time being. Marcus Brown able to hang in there. Justin Henley in 11th. We've got a battle for 12th between Leland Hill and Riley Spurley. And we got the 99 of Xander Howell as well. And check out Hector Palma making a good recovery drive. Started deep in the field and working his way into the points. Going to try to see. He's in the top 15 right now. Might be able to capitalize on some more by the end of this race. But here comes James Fletcher. He was able to get around Ethan Hayden. Now Fletcher going for the lead on Nick Kennedy. Fletcher now trying to make the move with just 8 laps to go. He's got the inside line. Can he be able to make it work and stick? He might be able to. Ethan Hayden trying to do the same. Hayden dives it into the corner, is able to pass Nick Kennedy. Kennedy going to go from 1st to 3rd in 1 corner. Now Fletcher with a credible run. Can he be able to capitalize and run away with this victory? I know Nick Kennedy has to be incredibly frustrated, but he still has some time. See if he can get it wound back and get those positions back. Riley Hill hanging on close in that 4th position as well in case anything happens. So we now just have 7 laps to go. The laps keep ticking down. More and more we are seeing the 88 of James Fletcher trying to build that gap on Ethan Hayden. It's a 1/4 of a second between himself and Hayden, and about another 1/4 of a second between Hayden and Nick Kennedy. Just flying throughout the pack a little bit here. Lots of single file racing, so we'll keep our eyes here on the front right now. James Fletcher and Ethan Hayden both trying to go for their 2nd career win. Hayden, our defending champion, so far hasn't had the strongest start to the season. And oh, Riley Hill up in the wall a little bit. That's going to cause some damage to his car. Might slow him down a bit, and unfortunately, he's going to lose out on 2 positions to 2 of the Ronnie Racing drivers. Another double top 5 for Ronnie Racing at the moment. But here comes Ethan Hayden now looking to the inside of James Fletcher. He gets up to the rear bumper of Fletcher. Going to try to dive to the inside with just 6 laps to go. Can he clear Fletcher? Not just quite. Fletcher going to be able to stick the nose in there. They're going to be side by side down the back straightaway. This will allow Nick Kennedy. He's got to pick a line and pick a driver to go with. Right now he's helping Fletcher, but he's going to move down to Ethan Hayden to get that inside line and get the move back on Fletcher. And he moves Fletcher up the track too, just for good measure. Nick Kennedy trying to put himself back into play here for the race win. He does not want to go down without a fight, and he's trying hard to get his first career win. Coming to just 5 laps to go. Ethan Hayden out in front and in control. The top 3 all under a blanket right now. Just a 1/4 of a second separates 2nd or 1st to 3rd. Watch out for Owen Scott too. If these top 3 start to battle out quite a bit, Owen Scott might be able to come and sneak on by right at the end here. If everything can go his way. He's had some bad luck going his way in these first few races. Despite some good finishes, they could have been much better. Owen Scott could be a 2-time winner had stuff gone his way. He could have won the first 2 races, actually, of the season back-to-back. Something we've never seen before. We've never seen anyone go back-to-back, let alone within the first 2 races. As right now, coming to just 4 laps to go, Ethan Hayden hanging on, trying to defend from James Fletcher. Fletcher going to move to the outside, interestingly. That 88 going to try to get a better run off the corner of the number 1 car. He might have to send it and shove it on that number 1 of Ethan Hayden. Nick Kennedy also trying to reel himself back in, keep himself within the play with just 3.5 laps to go. And remember, I feel like they should be good on fuel, but you never know. You never know. We might see them within the last lap or two have to come down pit just for a splash and go to be able to finish this race. It is not completely out of it. And right now, look at the run Owen Scott is getting off our top three. Scott trying to put himself in the picture for this race win. The only driver right now in our top four that, oh, watch out. Brett Bishop actually down pit road. That is interesting. That's going to be a major concern, I think, for some of these leaders because I don't believe Bishop pitted. But anyways, here comes James Fletcher for the lead with just 3 laps to go. Owen Scott making the move for third as well, trying to make the charge to the front. 4 cars now going for the lead. Who is going to get it? We're coming to just 2 laps to go next time by. Ethan Hayden going to lose 3 positions. Possibly, no, he's going to hang on to third. But watch out, here comes Owen Scott now, trying to go up top. Oh, and James Fletcher is going to have to pit. Fletcher does not have enough fuel to make it. Fletcher has to back out of it and holds the lead. Owen Scott now is taking the lead from 4th to 1st in a lap. 2 laps to go. This is the first laps Owen Scott has led all race, and they might just be the most important ones. Ethan Hayden, though, going to try to dive it in there to get back to the lead. So is Nick Kennedy. Have the leaders used up too much of their gas and equipment to be able to fight for the win? James Fletcher, unfortunately, had to bow out due to not having enough fuel. And that will allow a lot of these drivers behind him to make up some positions. But Ethan Hayden going to try to push the 15 up the track using everything he can. Hayden coming to the inside. They are not going to come down pit road. They're going to try to make it to the finish. We are coming to the white flag. Owen Scott out in front and in control. Lap traffic, Asation Tomioka ahead. Couple of lappers, actually. I believe they must have pitted, as I believe there were some of the cars who did not. Fitzy coming out of pit road. So, yeah, there's some people that are really struggling with fuel here at the end of this race. But I don't believe Owen Scott is one of them. Ethan Hayden might just have enough for this race. And he's going to try to see if he's got one last shot to get around this 15. He's right on the rear bumper of Owen Scott, giving him everything he has. Will he send him up the corner? Oh, he's still pushing him. But Owen Scott hanging on. Hayden trying to get there, inching closer and closer. But it doesn't look like it's going to be enough. Owen Scott, after plenty weeks of frustration and heartbreak, is going to finally come out on top in Season 2 and will win at Denver. What a race as we saw here. Owen Scott coming from 4th to 1st, charging his way all the way to the front at the very end of that race. A complete late race charge, but it was one of an absolutely epic finish and proportions. Ethan Hayden comes up 2nd, Nick Kennedy 3rd, Alexander Rowe and Christian Vargas will come back to finish 5th and round out our top 5. But as you see here, Owen Scott going to claim his 2nd career win after having many more wins be taken away from him. So a big congratulations to both Ronnie Racing and Owen Scott. This will be Ronnie Racing's 2nd win of the season.
Yeah, way to earn it. Upstairs winner, great job, buddy. Good job. Wow! Awesome job, guys. Thank you so much.
Alright, well, with the race done up and a wrap, let's go ahead and take a look at our finishing results of today's race. Owen Scott going to come ahead and upset our leaders. He would come home to claim his 2nd career victory here at the Denver Motorsports Park and a 2nd win overall on a speedway. Owen Scott has gone through a lot of bad luck, not just through this season, but realistically the whole second half of the season had so many races where he could have won and had some great finishes just stripped away from him but from some bad luck. So good to see Owen Scott back in victory lane here today. Ethan Hayden would come home as the runner-up, followed by Nick Kennedy in third. Kennedy dominated the majority of this race, led the most laps, but unfortunately just wasn't his day to claim his first career win. Still, Kennedy going to come home with the top 3. Alexander Rowe finally has a really strong performance and finish that he can bring home. The big problem for Alexander Rowe, he just hasn't been able to finish out these first 3 races, and as a result hasn't had as much of a points haul as he more than likely would have if he'd been able to do so. Pole sitter Christian Vargas going to come back to 5th after pitting early on the very first caution. Riley Hill would finish 6th, followed by Riley Spurley in 7th for his best career finish. Marcus Brown in 8th, Xander Howell in 9th, and Jeff Bolton would round out our top 10. Just outside the top 10 is going to see Hector Palma improve upon start to build up some real momentum. Palma looking like a real championship contender in his rookie year, coming off of a win at Middle Georgia last week, and now obviously a top 15 here at Denver. Nelson Reeves, also a very, very good, strong recovery drive after getting wrecked out early in the race. He got those damages repaired, came back, and would go on to finish in the 12th spot. Very good performance for Nelson Reeves. Chris Parker would come home to finish 13th, followed by Ronnie Martin in 14th, and Blake Parker would round out our top 15. Dylan Hayden would be behind him in 16th, with David Dixon 17th. Arvin Basic comes home in 18th, Roberto Crown Jr. 19th, and Cam Wright Sr. would claim the last points-paying position. Another good recovery drive as well for Cam Wright Sr., considering he got involved in 2 incidents early on in this race. Just outside our top 20 positions will include the likes of Dale Cole Jr., Ricky Freeman Jr. as well. Tari Lowell would come home 23rd, followed by Devon Fair in 24th, and Zachary DeLello would round out the top 25. His teammate Miles Mashburn would finish right behind him in 26th. Rookie Zachariah Armstrong got himself into some trouble in 27th, along with Cody Goforth in 28th. Alrighty, Alejo would end up finishing 29th, and Landon Laudenbach would round out our top 30. Just outside those top 30 positions, we would see JQ Halak be behind her owner Michael Canaday, actually Canaday in 31st and 31 car. Then his driver JQ Halak behind him in 32nd. Halak had some bad luck, was up at the front at the beginning of the race, but then got wrecked out by Ruben Gonzalez and was not able to recover at all since. James Fletcher, Flandre Wilson, unfortunately, both had to give up what would have been guaranteed top 5 finishes due to the fact that they needed to pit in order to make it to the end of the race. Unfortunate to see for there. Fletcher had to bow out from the lead, and Flandre Wilson having to bow out just outside those top 5 positions. Saber Fox, Leland Hill, Justin Henley, John McFadden, and Seishin Tomioka, more drivers that we would have to see concede their positions running very well. Most of those guys inside of the top 10, the top 15, unfortunately had to give up those points-paying spots simply because they didn't have enough fuel to make it to the end. Along with that, we would see Zachary Fitzwater Sr. and Brett Bishop also be those drivers that would come down and pit at the end of the race. The main difference being Fitzwater Sr. and Bishop would go 1 lap down. And Brett Bishop would actually be the last driver to finish running a lap down, as he would come home in 41st, and Ruben Gonzalez would be our only driver to DNF and retire as a result of that earlier second caution incident, and he would end up rounding out our field of 42. Alright, with that being said, with the race now being wrapped up, let's go ahead and take a look at the point standings going into the 5th race of the season. Crazy to say we're already almost a quarter of the way through the season. Owen Scott will reclaim his points lead with today's win, getting his total back up to 72 points. Christian Vargas going to be behind him by 9 points, and his teammate Hector Palma just behind him, 1 point off of him. 10 points separates 1st through 3rd, and another 10 points separates 3rd through 4th, with Alexander Rose slowly clawing his way up through the ranks after finally getting some good finishes here. Already Alejo going to be in 5th with 47 points, 5th with 5 points off of him, and 25 points separating 1st through 5th. Chris Parker, another 8 points off in the 6th position, followed by a tie between Cody Goforth and James Fletcher with 36 points apiece. Marcus Brown sits in 9th, and Flandre Wilson will claim the last championship gauntlet spot. She is in a 3-way tie between Leland Hill and Nick Kennedy, but she is on the better end of that tie due to her win at the second race at Atlanta. Those that are just outside on the gauntlet include the likes of Leland Hill and Nick Kennedy, tied with 32 points apiece. JQ Halleck just 1 point off of them as well in 13th. Arvin Basic a point off of her as well in the 14th position, and Brett Bishop, Riley Spurley, and Ronnie Martin all in a 3-way tie with 27 points apiece. Just behind them is Justin Henley with 26 points, Roberto Crown Jr. Shortly off of him, and Michael Canaday hanging on to the last spot in the top 20 in the points right now. He has 23 points to his total. We thank you all for tuning in once again to another exciting and great Power V8 Cup Series race. It definitely was one to remember in the Denver Oval. Putting on a very good race, saw a little bit of everything, some good strategy, good racing, some pit calls, and in the end, Owen Scott claiming his second career win on the Speedways. Be sure to be on the lookout for the next race, as it'll be our first road course race of the season at the Old Spice Speedway for the Old Spice 350. As we'll be going to the 1.5 mile road course for the first time this year, first of 2 times. As it should be interesting at the quarter mark of the season how these V8 Cup Series drivers are going to stack up. Once again, we thank you all for tuning in, and as always, be sure to look out for the next race.